Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the build series. After finishing demo last week, it's time to put in something that y'all probably can guess, the subfloor. Today I'm going to be framing out, insulating, and hopefully even sealing my subfloor so I can walk back in there safely, because this is a fiberglass camper and you don't want to be walking on raw, unsupported fiberglass too much. When I say unsupported, it's supported underneath, but still not ideal. So we're gonna get this in as fast as we can so that way we can start on other things throughout the build. This morning I created a cut list, so I already know the pieces that I need to start framing out the floor. I'm gonna get everything cut, make sure it all fits, and then pull it back out of the camper so that way I can seal it all to make sure it's protected from any further water damage so we don't end up like the camper was when I first got it. So let's get into it. Alright, so technically everything is in place right now, but before I secure anything down, foil tape all of this and get it set in place, I'm going to seal it so that way it's all as watertight as possible. And when I pull it out, I'm also going to, as you'll see in the corner, this is not going to stay empty by the way, I will be filling that with some insulation. Every single corner has these little like weep holes, and I'm not going to judge them too hard for doing it. I get the point of like, if moisture does get stuck under here, they want it to be able to escape in all of the corners. You can see there's another one down there. But I found that the issue with that, at least in this application, is that all of those corners were completely rotted, which leads me to believe that water was actually getting in that way, but not necessarily leaving, because the corners were absolutely saturated. The wood was completely rotted and just disgusting. I literally felt like I was pulling soil out of the corners. So because I'm going to do everything that I can to reseal this properly and then maintain the sealing of this camper throughout the time that I'm using it, I'm actually going to seal up those weep holes, and then from the top down later on when I go to put in my laminate and even the subfloor possibly, I'm going to silicone around all of the edges in addition to that deck sealant that I'm using on the wood. This is just hopefully going to give me a better shot at not having wood rot issues, and then if I do spill something in here, if it can't get through the floor because I'm getting waterproof, life-proof flooring, it also won't be able to run to the sides and down. Alright, so to seal up the floor and the framing, I'm going to be using this Valspar transparent. I think it's like a cedar tone, so it's going to be a little bit yellow, but you're never going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. Deck Rain Ready sealant. It should be ready by tonight to actually be installed. I might let it sit out overnight, just depending on how the edges all seal up, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put a coat on all the wood that I have. This is one coat, which makes it super fast and easy to apply, and also way more cost effective. I think this cost about $14, and that's a pretty low investment to have a floor that's going to last a long time. So at this point it's just funny because I've already gutted the entire thing, so it doesn't really matter. It's easy to fix now, but I was wondering why there was so much water damage. Obviously those four corners that I'm about to seal are part of the problem, but they also, take a look at this, literally drilled through the floor in so many spots. There's another one there. It's just bonkers. I'm gonna go ahead and patch those up with some silicone first, kind of wipe it flush, and then put flex tape over it as well. Not that that much water gets under the camper as is, but just to prevent, you know, anything from happening. And then I'm gonna go around to each of the corners to fill them with silicone. I'm gonna try again to wipe that kind of flush because I want my wood pieces to fit in there properly. Then after all of the wood and foam insulation is in here, glued down and secured, I'm gonna go around all of the edges one last time with some gaps and cracks to fill up any air holes. Alright, so the floor is back in place behind me. It's not fully secured yet, so that's gonna have to wait until tomorrow because I didn't realize it was already 4 o'clock, and in about an hour and a half, I'm gonna be going live on Patreon. So in case you guys didn't already know, I have a Patreon account where you guys can get exclusive content from me, whether it's a podcast, which I usually try to do bi-weekly, blog posts, exclusive photos, and then also quarterly we have little coffee beverage chats. Tonight's kind of a late one, so I'm probably gonna go stop and grab a tea or something nice and sit down with all of the folks over on Patreon, answer all of their questions, and hang out for a little bit. So shameless plug, if you guys want to join over there, you will also get access to all of those benefits, and in addition, I am about to put together a holiday greeting card from Tara and I with our new rig, and I would love to send you one as a thank you. That's all for tonight though. I'll see you guys in the morning. I was really nervous to do the subfloor for some reason in this. I don't know why, it just felt different than the van and the bus, but I think it turned out pretty well. I'm gonna end up putting more flooring on top of it, so it didn't need to look perfect. And tomorrow I get to put new foam board on the walls. I can put gaps and cracks and silicone the edges to make sure that it's actually going to be watertight, and then I can get to putting in the walls. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's the sound of sadness. I have to rip out my floor, I think, which really sucks. So no doubt I'm definitely bummed. I was planning on coming in here today and starting the rest of my installation, not ripping out the work that I did yesterday, but thankfully now that I have a template cut, it should be pretty quick to actually replace this. I'll just need to reseal it and reinstall it. I think the part that's going to take the longest is scraping off all of the glue, but honestly I think one of the issues with the floor, I only use 1/4 inch, and so it's very thin and pretty flexible, which means that if I don't have a completely level surface, which is hard to do with support strips, a fiberglass floor, and then the foam that's sometimes cut a little bit out of square, it's going to creak. And at first I thought maybe it would work out because I'm gonna have weight across the entire thing later with my cabinets, but I'm realizing that some of the adhesive didn't stick properly to the foam, which is making the surface even more uneven. Parts of the floor are grabbing it, parts of it are not, which is making for a poly squeak, a floor squeak, and if I continue to build, I'm not gonna be able to fix this in the future. So this is really my only shot, and as much as it stinks to have to pull it all out, I will be able to reuse the ply that's on the floor, so I won't be wasting material, and ultimately I'll have a really solid foundation. So I'm gonna get this ripped out as fast as I can and get that new floor back in so we can finish sealing. So I'm not sure how well it's gonna show up on video, but if you couldn't tell, this floor is so much quieter than it was this morning. I'm so happy that I took the time to go back. Yes, it's a bummer that I ripped stuff out. I wasted some of the material that came out of the old floor. Obviously, I changed a couple of things. I put in, come on, baby. Whew. Okay, sorry. I thought Tara had a tick for a second, so we just tried to deal with that. Thankfully, it was just a little scab from a nick she got, so in the clear. But back to the floor, I'm really stoked that I actually took the time to take things apart. If I've learned anything over the course of the last 2 years, building out rigs and tearing them apart now, it's that taking my time and doing that extra little step that maybe doesn't need to be done or could maybe be just remedied or will get fixed down the road is not ideal. It's much better to just take the time, invest the extra $20 that she'd apply that I wasted, cost 20 bucks. So at the end of the day, really just a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the build. Now that the subfloor is in, the next step is going to be to re-insulate the rest of the rig because a lot of the polyiso board came down off of the edges when I was ripping the walls down. So later this week, I will be putting that in. I'm gonna be insulating around all of those pieces with some gaps and cracks and some foil tape before I start putting the walls back in. But the other side of that, which I'm not sure yet if it's going to be its own video or something separate entirely, we're gonna be installing my new windows. Today I got 2 massive back windows to replace and expand a little bit. These 2 back windows in the kitchen and kind of dining work area from Arctic Turn. And if you guys have never heard of these before, I highly recommend that you check them out. They are these double pane awning windows, so I can open them in nearly any weather or climate without introducing water into the rig. I'm super excited about the double pane as well because in the couple short weeks that we were already in this camper, it was basically raining. The condensation was so bad on the original single pane windows. That said, I'm gonna have a propane heater that does vent outside, not that condenses inside, so that'll be a huge upgrade and help remedy it as well. In the meantime, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week and that you enjoyed today's video. I know subfloor isn't the most enthralling, but in weeks to come, I'll be installing electrical, getting walls up, new massive beautiful windows in, and a couple of other fun aesthetic updates, as well as starting to work on my truck because I just got my new suspension, tires, and wheels in, and they look so good. I'm so excited to share these steps with you guys. It's my first time doing a lot of this stuff, so I'm definitely a little bit nervous, but I'm really excited with the direction that I'm heading with this build, and I'm feeling super great about the choices I've been making, where I'm choosing to spend my money, where I'm choosing to save, and how this is all going to come together. So stay tuned for that and more, and I will see you guys all next Sunday. Bye.